So usually we go into my segment here with the what Kevin watched, but we talked about changing that up a little bit this week because we had a tragedy in our industry, our community, whatever you want to call it, with Neal Adams passing. What was that? Was it 2 days ago?
Friday, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So we wanted to talk about that for a minute to to kind of pay respects to that and kind of remember a bit. So I think Patrick, I'm gonna say right now, I think you're the we've talked about it before. You're the brainchild of this group, in my opinion. So I do want to share. I had an opportunity to meet Neal Adams. What was that? 3 years ago, Mike?
3.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
Had him sign X-Men #1. He did a variant cover for. Still have that, of course, and he was great. And the only part of that story that I talk about with regret is I hadn't seen the Joker yet. It was just out in theaters that week. And he was trying to make small talk with me, which was awesome, of course. Which I'm all starstruck, of course. Neal Adams is my definitive Batman for me, artist.
Maybe all of us.
Yeah, I wasn't going to speak for everyone, but definitely me. So is that go for you too, Patrick?
I'm not sure. I'd have to think about that.
Okay.
He's definitely up there.
Yeah. How about you, Mike?
What was the question?
Is Neal Adams your kind of definitive Batman artist in your mind?
Yeah, I would say him and Jim Aparo are probably the two most important Batman artists to me. I think Norm Brayfogle was kind of up there as well. I didn't appreciate his artwork when he was doing the runs, and later on I came to appreciate a little bit more. But I think Neal and Jim are equally important.
Yeah, I kind of put Neal as coming a little earlier than Jim, right? Like Jim,
yeah,
to me was drawing Batman. Although there are distinctive style points, he's effectively, to me, drawing Neal Adams Batman, as everyone did for like 20 years, pretty much, right?
Right.
I think Neal Adams is to Batman what John Romita Sr. was to Spider-Man, sort of defining this look that everybody else was effectively drawing in that same style, but he kind of set the template for Batman having that look with it. Basically, what my avatar looks like, with the straight sides to his head, kind of a rectangular shaped head, and ears with long ears, realistic proportions on the anatomy, just sort of that overall look.
Yeah, I think
Aparo popular in the 70s and 80s mainly.
Yeah, I think Neal's stuff is kind of gritty, and Aparo just slicked it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, the only thing I was saying before we get too deep into it, I want to finish telling that story is, so I was starstruck with him, and so it was it's just kind of, I don't know exactly how to describe it. When he's trying to make small talk with you, it's like you don't know what to say. And I don't usually shut up, so that's saying something, if I don't know what to say. And he asked me if I had seen the Joker because it just came out that week, and I hadn't seen it yet. I was like, dadgum. Missed opportunity for a great small talk with Neal Adams, because I don't even know he didn't. When I said no, I haven't seen it yet, that was the end of the conversation. I would have been interested to hear what Neal had to say about the Joker.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't worry about spoilers.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a great opportunity for you, because it wasn't the way he was set up. It wasn't just like he's at a table where you're standing there at the table. You were you were sitting down.
Yeah, I got to sit with him. Yeah,
right by him. I mean, it's a very welcoming environment that he had there.
Yeah, he was all, and he was very nice. He was awesome. So.
And
Neal
I think
Adams,
like
if you had before Friday, given me a police lineup, I wouldn't have known what he looks like. I only know his work, and so seeing some photos of him on Friday, I was sort of struck just the few photos I saw. He had the appearance of being welcoming and warm. Just some people just have that look. So it's kind of interesting, Mike, that you described him that way.
Yeah.
It's just the impression I got. Like some people just come off that way, sort of charismatic, and I was kind of curious to hear if that was the case. Sounds like it was.
Yeah, definitely for me. Obviously people can have different experiences, but yeah, it was awesome. Did you ever meet him, Patrick?
I never met him face to face. He was at quite a few Heroes cons that I attended. But my history with Neal Adams is kind of strange because, as I've talked before, I was a Marvel kid. And I missed out on all that stuff. I certainly recognize his importance in comic book history, but by the time I was in the comics, he was well past his DC stint, and I knew him as the guy from Continuity Comics and Megalith and things like that, and he had already started to distance himself from Marvel and DC, which he eventually came back around and did things for them here and there, but and not being the DC guy, I didn't really have that strong of an urge to go back and look for things. Of course, we're gonna throw a bunch of his covers and artwork up here, and they're instantly recognizable. They're iconic.
Yeah.
But no, to answer your question, I've been in the same convention hall. I've seen him from afar, but it's sort of tying into he was one of the he was a lot. He was known a lot for creators' rights. He was instrumental in getting artwork back to artists finally. And he, on the other flip side of that, he was also, I believe, one of the first guys to start charging for autographs and pictures and things like that.
Oh, really?
So that kind of thing, that kind of thing was never. I never liked to really pay for autographs. I like to just go up and meet somebody, get an autograph, and in the comics world had generally always been that. But I think he was sort of like one of the first guys to. He wanted his money. He had been sort of neglected in the past. There were some deals that he worked on comic strips and things like that where he was not getting paid what he should, and so he was always out to get his fair share of the pie. Let's say.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that, but
right.
it unfortunately kind of he was off. I didn't really have anything for him to sign. So there's kind of no reason for me to go up and meet him. Didn't have anything in my collection. So I saw him from afar. I never got to meet him, shake his hand or anything like that. But again, I reiterate what Kevin said and what Tom kind of hinted at there. He always seemed very friendly, extremely friendly. Always seemed to have a smile on his face. Always had that blue shirt and tie.
Yeah. Yeah, if it was 10 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to shake his hand and sit down with him either because it wasn't one of the cheaper autographs I got that day too. So, which is fine because like you were saying, he's trying to get his piece of the pie, and obviously, the comic book industry has the further you go back, the worse the history is with these artists and stuff getting their fair due, So
for sure.
Yeah, the price for me was I couldn't afford it that weekend.
It was we joke about me whether I can afford it. I just do it anyway, and that's kind of because we knew he was going to be there.
Yep. And
I didn't plan on doing it because of the price. So I didn't take anything of his for him to sign either. That's why I had him sign it. I wish it's kind of cool because obviously think a lot about Neal Adams, and I love the X-Men. So I had him do an X-Men cover, but it's also kind of lame. I had him do an X-Men cover as opposed to a
Yeah.
Batman book, so.
Yeah. Or if
I'm
you're
good.
going to have him do an X-Men book, it's going to be one of his X-Men books.
Yeah, one of his
You know,
X-Men books. Yeah,
yeah.
not a new one, just doing the cover. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So
I'm going to
And
set
an
me up.
Art
Kevin,
Adams book.
scrolling through some of his covers here.
Yeah. Okay.
oh,
Okay.
Yeah, let's look at these.
Yeah, let's look at it. Let's look at some of his covers. Yeah. Oh man, that's another thing I didn't add that thing. Oh man, failing.
Well,
Just talk about it. I'll work on this.
Yeah, he did a limited number of things for Marvel. He was in that sort of in between period of X-Men where they were in danger of being canceled, and before Giant Size X-Men came along. In fact, they were doing reprints, around this era, and he came along and is kind of known at Marvel for his X-Men as well as. Sorry, I skipped over that.
Yeah, I love X-Men books.
His work on the Kree Skrull War, which, I should point out here, Marvel reprinted some of the Kree Skrull work when I was, early in the 80s, I would say, when I was, getting into comics. And it's amazing because, I really didn't know of Neal Adams. I didn't know of his Batman stuff. But, you look at these issues and you could see they could have been printed, that year. They could have been printed in the 80s for all I knew, because he was so different and so modern looking. It didn't seem like a reprint book almost, and it was probably 10, 12, 14 years after they initially had been published at Marvel. I was getting these reprints, and it did make an impression on me. He was a great artist, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
But then he was moving over to DC, and I think I brought this up. This is an iconic cover. Everybody's seen this cover. Yeah. It's been homaged by Alex Ross, among other people. It's just and even Neal himself has done a few classic twists on it, I believe.
Yeah, I think his most iconic stuff was the DC. He's got a couple of the X-Men books that are real standout, but
right.
Yeah, ultimately it's DC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
All his Detective and Batman.
Remember the comic we were passing around a few months back where Shazam or Captain Marvel was asking Superman how does he get the chains to shatter like that?
Right.
Basically, like the whole comics are built on that image,
Yep.
Yeah, once I made a checklist of his Detective and Batman books, and I have some. I don't have all of them, but you start looking at the prices of some of them, and yeah, I don't know if I'll end up getting those.
Oops, there's a better version.
Awesome.
And then he's known for his Green Arrow and Green Lantern run. And a lot of this is with Denny O'Neil, the writer. That just happens to be a Brave and the Bold with Green Arrow, but I have some of his Green Arrow, Green Lantern covers in here too. A lot of cool Brave and the Bold stuff. There's an iconic image. Everybody's seen that.
Yeah.
Around the time.
That was on a lot of T-shirts back in 1989. That might be like the definitive Neal Adams Batman image.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if I might be incorrect, but I think that's from like the Ra's al Ghul era.
I think you're right.
Which I should have some of those covers in here too. It's funny because I actually have this book somehow. I don't know how. I can't remember how I got this. But I think everybody's seen that cover too. I mean,
absolutely. Is it in good shape too? Do you know?
It's in decent shape. I haven't looked at it for a while.
Yeah, I definitely want that. I don't have it. Of course.
That's
a great one. Yeah.
There's some Ra's stuff, and he was co-creator of Ra's al Ghul. Another classic there.
Oh, hey, finally one that I have.
Yeah, that Ra's al Ghul story got adapted onto the Batman the Animated Series.
Yeah.
Two-parter that Denny O'Neil was credited as the writer of that episode. I don't know for sure. Did he adapt his own comic strip, but it was just an adaptation of that story. It was really cool.
Yeah, there's another iconic one. I think I have that when DC did those the dollar comic reprints.
Okay. Oh, back to that one. Where's that? We had talked about this in the Superman versus Muhammad Ali Treasury edition with that great cover. All the celebrities in the audience. There's some, he's co-creator of John Stewart Green Lantern also.
Yeah.
And he was known for that story arc, with Speedy, the drug use stories.
I actually had this.
An iconic cover.
I actually had this one, but sold it when I needed some cash. Now I just have a reprint, but I have the reprints, whatever.
I remember seeing this one up on the wall at Phantom of the Attic in Butler. If you told me to name 2 covers that they had on their wall, I'd probably have trouble coming up with number 2, but I remember this being up there.
Yeah.
And another one from that Green Lantern, Green Arrow run.
Yeah.
I mean, so many of these are just so familiar. Even if you've never read them, you've definitely seen these, or they've been homaged somewhere or another. They're just such classic covers.
Yeah.
Obviously, a well-respected artist, among not just fans but his peers also.
Yeah. Well, I think he was kind of responsible for Frank Miller getting his foot in the door.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I can't remember all the details, but I think Frank had come to him and hopefully I don't mess this up. And he looked at his stuff and he said, come back again. Not like in a rude way, but practice some more and then come back again. And I think Frank did.
Okay.
I hope I'm rendering that correctly.
Yeah, there's a lot of stories out there. Neal was one of those guys who was, I think he even he wanted to know if you wanted an honest evaluation of your talent or not, because he laid it out on the line. And if that's going to be your profession, it's sort of what you want. And you hear a lot of those stories where he's just a brutally honest critiquer of portfolios out there. So
yeah, well, you don't want to give anybody like false hope and mislead them.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, so I think I've run through all the covers, but obviously, there's a lot more out there. But I just, I tried to pick a few of the classic ones.
Yeah, those are great. And I wanted to. Sorry about that. I haven't been in control of all this in so long. I've forgotten which button is which. We don't have a moderator today, so. And actually, we're changing the name. It's not moderator. It's what is it, Tom?
Producer.
Well, we didn't we decide we're the producers though? So
well, you can do producer or director. I think either one would be fitting. A lot of radio shows, like the person who's kind of doing the things behind the scenes, they call them producers. The person who's not on the air. But you can.
All right. Well, we don't have a producer with us.
Everyone here who does work leading up to prep the show, I'd say, could be called producers also. Mostly you and Mike, I think.
Yeah. Well, Mike, is that a Neal Adams behind you too?
No, I wish that I knew who did a lot of these. I just looked for screensavers instead of just like actual artwork from books and things like that. Okay. So these are just screensavers.
Okay.
Because if I could figure out who actually drew it, I would. I mean, I don't know. Sometimes this reminds me of Raphael Albuquerque a little bit, but yeah. If I had thought about it, I probably could have found Neal Adams.
Well, it's a last minute thing. We just talked about it when we started today, so just appropriate to talk about it. And yeah, that's all I had. Patrick, is that all you had regarding Neal Adams?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Mike, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
No, I'll cover a little bit when we get to our purchases for the week.
Okay.
But yeah, it's I'm thankful that I actually got to see Neal, and I'm glad that you actually got to sit down and chat with him for a bit.
Yeah, it makes that moment, yeah, obviously that much
Yeah.
more special. Yeah, for me.
Yeah, it's just a reminder. A lot of the artists and writers um that we
Grew up
like,
with her aging.
yeah, we kind of
Mhm.
grew up with, and yeah, it's kind of strange. I mean, he was 80 years old.
Yeah.
So it's you kind of group other creators, they put them in the same group. It gets scary sometimes. You start thinking about the age of some of these creators, and it's like, dang.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they're being, if we're getting the same quality of writers and artists now that we had in the 70s and 80s and even into the 90s.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's all I got. I can ramble.
Well, my personal prayers will be with Neal Adams' family, and rest in peace, Neal Adams. Definitely, in my opinion, a great man. Seems like in all of our opinions. So